Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and you know that we're still in August, Orlando, because with the heat index today, it's 108 outside. Remember, kids, that's in the shade. And that also tells me that, of course, we're just days away from the first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party on August 17th, and merely a couple of weeks away from the start of Food and Wine Festival. Who does not want a piping hot bowl of cheddar cheese soup right about now? Only Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
What's so nice about doing Mickey's Not So Scary in this sort of weather is you get to take home that solid chunk of candy.
It will all melt together.
That's right.
Like the hard candy that we got has all liquefied and then re-solidified into a giant mass.
It does make things a little interesting when you get to the TSA. I swear to God, this is just 35 Milky Ways.
Have you ever seen nerds fused together like this? When Hannah was young, her first Halloween costume that we ever got her was an actual dinosaur outfit. So it had the tail. It was like stuffed. It literally looked like she was Barney, the dinosaur, but green and with a Tyrannosaurus mouth and a giant tail. So two funny things about the costume. One, before we went out, I made little houses out of playing cards and got on the floor and filmed her walking over them like Godzilla.
Oh, I have to see this. Okay.
And then but the funny thing was, and this reminds me of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween, the day that we took her out, it was an unseasonably warm Halloween, and she lasted maybe 15 minutes in that costume before we took her out of it because she was just done. So we basically walked her around semi-naked and said, "Please give this child candy. Here's her costume." Because I think it was like 89 or 90 when we were doing it in October in North Carolina. Yeah. I can't imagine what these kids are going to do next week in Orlando. I don't know.
I believe the phrase you're looking for here, Len, is face paint. That's my costume. Look at this. I got a unicorn on me. Give me candy.
Enjoy my tomato face.
There we go.
All right. Also this week, Jim, the Walt Disney Company has announced its third quarter results. On the theme park side, they said attendance was up 1%. There was some holiday-related year-over-year stuff there. I think last year there were 2 holidays in this quarter. This year there were only 1. But the interesting thing, I think from my perspective, was looking forward, Disney said that resort reservations are down 2% for this quarter, prices up 7%. Now, we had talked about this in a previous show, how we had started to see hotel deals popping up on Priceline and also for cast members at ridiculously low rates. What do you think Disney's concern is here?
It really is not a coincidence that we are hearing these conversations about the fast tracking of Epcot's nighttime show. They need to give people a reason to come here right now because there's a lot of people who frankly have done the math. And it's like, look, Galaxy's Edge now isn't supposed to open till the late fall. And as Len keeps pointing out, when you say late fall at Disney, that means December 20th. So why go to Walt Disney World at all when in 18 months this amazing thing that's supposed to change the theme park world is supposed to open? And this is only going to get worse, Len.
It is, because I'm hearing mid-September, Disney's going to announce their ticket price increase where they can move to seasonal pricing. So it's an awkward time for them to be raising prices when the resort reservations are down, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, you know how Disney works their magic. I mean, there's how many rooms right now in the inventory are out because of what? Construction for the Riviera and what's going on over...
Or they can convert it to DVC, right, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of buildings in at least 400 rooms in All-Star Movies right now being down for refurb. I think they're finishing up Pop Century. So there's, any given time, there's probably 1,000 rooms out of inventory just for general maintenance, if not more. But they've got to get all of that done by the 50th. But that helps their occupancy, though. So the resort reservations are down 2%, taking into account all of the rooms that have moved to DVC inventory and all of the rooms that are currently out for refurbishments now. That is interesting. The thing that's surprising to me about the Illuminations is that we haven't heard the announcement yet. And I don't know what Disney's waiting on that, because you and I have both got the alerts from insiders saying the blog post is written. It's a matter of someone pushing the button. And the button hasn't been pushed yet. Is it they're just waiting for a more fortuitous timing, like the ticket price increase? Are they? You think they're going to do that? They're going to sandwich the price increase around big announcements to sort of soften the blow?
It's when you wrap the blanket around the 2x4.
Exactly.
It's a soft bludgeon. Yeah, I mean, to be able to talk about this amazing show that's coming and the wonderful technology, at the same time, kind of the bait and switch to, we're switching to this new admissions method that, frankly, is going to tick off a number of people.
Didn't they do that with the last price increase in February? It was like sandwiched around announcements.
Yeah. But again, this is Disney's standard operating system. Just sort of like you stress the show and you put that in the spotlight and you sort of play down the fact that, we bumped up the prices again.
So I think the next time we might hear then about an Illuminations event might be right around the time this ticket price thing goes in. We'll see what happens.
You go. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of other things, and I don't know why we didn't lead the show off with this, Jim, but rumor has it you've seen the Millennium Falcon ride in Disneyland?
How do I say this without getting somebody in trouble? I have friends who are working on the project.
The feds are already calling you in the background right now.
There we go. That's Disney security right there. Okay, folks. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to go pack a bag. I'll be in Canada, Len.
Look at the time. Gotta go.
Okay, so they are working on this attraction because, again, face it, we are 11 months out.
I've heard Anaheim is much farther along.
That it is, but the problem is that they are still working on Millennium Falcon.
What does the ride vehicle look like?
Well, let's talk about capacity first. First of all, there are 6 seats inside of the pilot compartment. In order to ensure that this thing has decent capacity, there are 7 pods in operation at any one time. So that's 42 people who are piloting the Millennium Falcon at any one time. I am hearing a 3.5-minute ride cycle. Again, you're seated inside the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, but you're looking out through that window array that we've all seen from the film.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
In order to pull off that effect, because again, the capsule moves in conjunction with the imagery, you're looking out into basically a circular space. That's sort of a half dome, so to speak.
Yeah, so my understanding of it was, based on the description, I'm not saying I've seen it, is sort of like the Illuminations globe shape for a ride vehicle? The mechanism itself?
Your description is probably a little tighter than mine. You're fixing on the candy shell on the outside. I'm dealing with the crunchy nougat.
Okay.
And here's the problem with the crunchy nougat. Anybody who's ridden Mission Space and knows the pseudo-bogus, hey, being a pilot, be sure to hit your button, and okay, navigate, hit your button.
There's this false interactivity in the in Mission Space where it looks like you're doing stuff, but it doesn't actually impact the ride.
So this is the thing about the Millennium Falcon. They want initially, and let's stress that initially because we'll get to that in a moment, wanted real interaction. They wanted, depending on which of the 6 seats you're occupying inside of the Millennium Falcon, your actions directly impact what happens. To the point where if you don't do your job and the Millennium Falcon crashes, the ride's over.
Oh my God. 6-hour wait in line over in 30 seconds.
And that's it. You have nailed it. That is the problem.
Thanks for coming, folks, and walk through the gift shop on the way. So number one, I think we're confirming here, you will actually guide the ship. The rumor is true.
Absolutely true. If you know what you're doing, the rewrite ability of the original version of the Millennium Falcon experience was insane. You could have multiple rides with infinite incomes or outcomes. But the problem is they've been doing the playtesting in and around Glendale. They've been recruiting people to come in, and they've been making a point of, initially they were bringing groups of friends together, and then they were bringing in individuals who don't know one another. So, it's not a question of they could quickly build a team or assign roles or that sort of thing. And what they're finding is that it's frustrating people more than it's entertaining people.
Oh, yeah, because if you're a group of 4, you've got 2 yahoos with you who don't know how to fly a spaceship, and they're responsible for crashing it. You've waited 6 hours in line. This thing's over. Now what?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. This is not a happy moment. The problem is steel's in place. It just...
Yeah, from what I understand, what you've seen is physically there. It's not like Walt Disney World. It's actually there in Disneyland.
Yeah. They are now sort of having to retrofit after the fact, and the computing power that's involved with controlling this imagery is Pentagon level stuff.
Yeah, I mean, stuff that you would have used to make a movie 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're doing it in real time and flying a spaceship. Okay, so the gameplay is the challenge.
Yes.
They're having to figure out how to make it so that you don't crash instantly. And I've got to say, back when I first got my first set of computers, I would fly flight simulators a lot. And the beauty of them back in the day was you could start the game, figure out within 3 minutes how to play flight simulator, and then play it and learn more. The new flight simulators, and I'm not joking on this, I tried to boot up one the other day. I couldn't figure out how to take off. It was that complicated, a game these days. I mean, and granted, it's much more realistic. The controls are much more realistic. The scenery is fantastic. You could probably use it to fly an actual plane if you needed to. However, the learning curve on that was so steep, it wasn't any fun, and I gave up.
No.
I think that's the problem that they're facing with the Millennium Falcon.
And the other thing is, in Southern California, Disneyland draws from the millions of locals who live within 100 miles of the park. So language really isn't an issue. When you go to Walt Disney World and you think of the number of international travelers that will be climbing into this thing, I mean, this isn't a case of, okay, we'll put more monitors in the queue, we'll give them more information.
When you say Chewie put up the blast shields, you're not thinking, how do I say this in Portuguese?
There we go. When you've got an on-the-ball team that knows what they're doing, it's just been stunning. It's all next-level stuff. The worry right now is they've delivered an amazing ride experience for 10% of the guests, and the other 90% are going to have, whether it's tech issues or they're going to be frustrated with the other people in the cabin who aren't holding up their end. There's some tweaking going on. There is time to fix this.
Yeah, so we're thinking June, July for this. So they've got, I mean, they could have 10 or 11 months to get this done.
I keep hearing the same mantra over and over again, that the construction team wants to be able to hand over Galaxy's Edge, at least in Anaheim, by April 30th. Then there are 2 weeks of training, then 2 weeks of cast member only and corporate partners coming in, and then there's 2 weeks in theory, provided that there's no hiccup and no issue, that they'll be able to get in annual pass holders early, and then followed by the grand opening, and then Disneyland steps through the looking glass, and we try to figure out how to operate the resort with this hugely popular thing that people will be lining up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get into.
Fly at 5 o'clock the day before. But that's good. I mean, if they're in test and adjust now for this, that means that they've got plenty of time to work on this. I like the idea that they're starting with an ambitious game and having to scale it back rather than something that's too simple. I think that bodes well. We'll see what happens on it.
The only thing I guess that concerns me about this is that at one point there was even talk of a dedicated Galaxy's Edge website where you could literally go to the Millennium Falcon tutorial and be prepped prior to going to the park.
There's homework before visiting the theme park, Jim. This is sounding better and better every day. Every time I visit this place, I am reminded of my love for the game. All right. What's the line from Moneyball? It's, every time we speak, my love of the game is renewed. It's just the way Brad Pitt says it.
There we go. Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, Jim, let's do a quick break, and we will come back and talk about another transportation-related issue, this time at Disneyland.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. All right, folks, we'll be right back in a minute.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
And we're back. All right, Jim, you're going to talk a little bit about an anniversary of a little bit of a tragedy. It actually is a tragedy. It's a little bit of a downer. You're going to talk about a story at Disneyland. I do want to point out one thing, though, because this is our transportation-themed podcast. Yep. I've been pricing Disney Cruise Line cruises for next year, part of updating the unofficial guide to the Disney Cruise Line. Jim, do you know how expensive a Disney Cruise Line is next summer on a Western Caribbean 7-night cruise for 4 people? Take a wild guess as how. So inside cabin, least expensive cabin on the ship. 7 nights, Western Caribbean, next summer.
Did I hear correctly? Have they bumped this by 15%?
It is actually. So it's $9,100 almost for a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, ages 8 and 6, on an inside cabin, so no windows, on the Fantasy next year. If you wanted an actual balcony, it would go to $9,700. So it's just a little below $10,000. That is $10,000 for a week.
When are we going to start seeing the first new ships? I mean, of the 3 that are
2021, I believe. So we'll next year in 2019, we should start seeing the very first pricing for the first itineraries. We don't know the name of the ship yet. I'm thinking one of them is going to be Celebration, but we don't know the names of the ships. We don't know any details. We don't know anything about anything yet on it. Although we do have some insiders. I'll check with them on it over in Germany and see what's going on.
Supposedly that is kind of what's behind this price increase. That the fear is that once they start putting out the names of the new ships and start mentioning the amenities and that sort of thing, 50th anniversary, hey, let's do the cruise with the new ship and let's visit the resort.
Oh, right. They'll have one of the new ships ready, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of discussion now because the Star Wars Day at Sea, the Marvel Day at Sea, these have all been launched. And the question is, well, what are we doing in 2019 to 2020 to compel people to get on the boats? For those who are going to be, well, I want to wait to try the new ship. I want to be among the first to do that. I mean, this is going to be kind of a tricky play.
I'm hoping it drops prices a little bit. Jeez. I mean, because 10 large for a week cruise is, granted, it's all-inclusive and it's a nice ship. That's a lot of money to swallow.
Yeah.
On to something more pleasant, or not.
The thing of Disney Dish is we tell stories here that aren't necessarily the ones that the folks of the Walt Disney Company want us to tell. And what Len has been sort of referring to at the top of this segment of the show is that August 14th is the anniversary of a pretty significant tragedy in Disneyland history. But to explain what happened, you have to understand that for years, Anaheim had a service that literally flew them from LAX to Disneyland. Tens of thousands of people during the 13 years that this was in operation took advantage of the service. The original helicopter landing spot, Len, was right outside of Tomorrowland. Walt was this transportation enthusiast. He loved the notion that you'd be in Tomorrowland and to be able to look at, and here's a real Sikorsky helicopter coming in for a landing.
Oh, I totally get it. You've dealt with Los Angeles area traffic before, where it could take 2 hours in the afternoon to do what is legitimately a 10-minute drive. I would take a helicopter from the airport. Yeah.
What was particularly cool about this is in May of 55, TWA, who was the sponsor of Flight to the Moon inside of the park, they actually offered a ticket from New York City to Disneyland. Fly to
Really?
LAX. Yeah, and we'll take you straight to the park.
I wonder what the airport code for Disneyland was.
I don't know.
All right, something to research. Okay, go ahead anyway.
In 1955, a helicopter flight to Disneyland, $4 each way.
Wow.
And each of these helicopters could carry 20 passengers and 3 crew members. They made multiple trips a day. When you see those images of John F. Kennedy in the park, that's how he got there. He took the helicopter. And Walt loved this. Just loved the whole idea of it. But the locals obviously did not. The motels that were leaping up around the park, the noise of the helicopter coming and going was disturbing for their guests. Anaheim City Council also just sort of like, this is a full-size helicopter coming in and landing. I mean, and the fact they're just letting them off in the parking lot and, hey, go over and walk over to the ticket booths. It's like, no. You're going to continue to operate this thing. You're going to need a terminal. And, it's going to need an indoor waiting area and, public restrooms. And the Los Angeles Airways, the company that had been running this service, fought hard against it because they were worried about what it would do to their price point to have to support a facility like this and staff it. Then, early 1968, the motel owners around Disneyland banded together and started to talk about, they think the helicopters are dangerous and there's this noise pollution issue. And so here's Los Angeles Airway trying to fight on 2 fronts here. The city council wanting the terminal and, the motel owners coming after them, the noise and the safety. At the worst possible time, they have a crash. The May 22nd, 1968. Helicopter flying from Anaheim to LAX. A rotor flies off of the copter. It ends up crashing in a dairy farm just up the road in Paramount, California. All 20 passengers and the 3 crew members on board were killed. The crew that operated this copter, they were pros. One of the witnesses describes that as they're losing altitude, the door opens and one of the crew members is frantically throwing out mail bags trying to lighten the load. It lands like a rock. At that time, it was the worst civilian helicopter crash in U.S. history. And
wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it turns out it was one single bolt that was holding one of the 5 main rotor blades had come loose. And that was enough that the rotor blade flew off, and with only 4 blades, they couldn't keep the thing aloft. And the ambulances were on scene within minutes. 8 crews of units from the Los Angeles County Fire Department were out there. And so the investigation begins. Los Angeles Airways is reeling from this because, again, for 13 years they operated without a single incident, and they have this crash. And so to the beginning of the investigation, and then 74 days later, it happens again, Len.
Oh, jeez.
It's leaving LX, headed to Disneyland. It's a Sikorsky 61 helicopter. Same exact thing. One rotor separates from the spindle that holds those blades to the rotor head, and the hugely, densely populated part of Los Angeles, California. And this is a tragedy. 18 passengers on board, and the 3 crew lose their lives. But it could have been so much worse if the pilot had not been the pro that he was. I mean, he's up 1,500 feet in the air when they lose the blade, and he's looking out over Compton, and there is one tiny little piece of green. It was called Looters Park. It was a recreational area. There were 30 kids in this area when they look up and see this helicopter barreling down toward them, and they can actually hear the pilot yelling, "Get out of the way," that sort of thing. And he manages to bring it down in this one piece of green. Now, mind you, again, wow. It explodes on impact. And honestly, the toughest part of this story, Len, is among the victims was Christopher Balin, who was the 13-year-old grandson of Clarence Balin, the founder and president of Los Angeles Airways. So to have 2 crashes inside of 74 days and to lose his own grandson, they shut it down.
Yeah, it's not going to go forward,
Yeah, the NTSB also has to do its investigation, and in both cases, it's like, look, this was not pilot error. These were pros. These were guys who'd done it every day. This was just a freak metal fatigue issue that had happened to 2 copters in their fleet, but the founder felt snake bit at that point, so they shut it down. And it wasn't till 1972 that Golden West Airline decided that, okay, people love this. I mean, there were people who would still arrive in LAX and let's get in the copter. Well, there is no copter anymore. And it's like, are you kidding me? Oh, that was the greatest part. I didn't have to drive on the 5. And Golden West had it up and running for 5 months in 1972. And then at that point, largely again because the price had increased. At this point, it was now $16 a person each way, and that didn't make it attractive or seem all that affordable to people.
Really? $16?
Well, that's if you do the 1972 versus 2018. I want to say that's the equivalent of $96, $97.
$100? Not out of the question, but okay, more expensive. All right, go ahead, I get it.
So, it went from being a luxury to a luxury. And also by this point, noise pollution, particularly in Southern California, was a really for real serious issue, and the motels were able to push back successfully, and this service just went away. But 50 years since this happened, folks, and there's so many times people will show me photographs of the copters over the park, and it's like, oh, when did they do that? And that would have been cool. And it's like, yeah, it was for a while.
So we'll have to wait now for flying cars, which will be much safer.
And hopefully they'll be easier to operate than the Millennium Falcon. But hey, I didn't say that. So
hope so too. Mm-hmm. All right, folks, you've been listening to the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. We are produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who, as far as I know, does actually know how to pilot the Millennium Falcon.
Punch it!
Don't forget, we are on Stitcher and iTunes. Please go there and leave us a review, and also ask us any questions and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.